want to refrain from swearing, people. We have made it to day 2000, right? And I do not have any energy left. I'm at this point in time running on absolute fumes. Now, just because you get into crypto early does not necessarily mean you are a billionaire, right? So the thing is, the thing is, I am extremely close to selling shit because I am just, I don't know what the word is, exhausted, tired, frustrated. Now, have a look what I'm sharing here. If, for instance, right, if, for instance, we are looking at Ethereum way and it is extremely low, so that brings the argument for Ethereum and Ethereum HEX, and we know gas could increase. There's a risk you could put some stakes away on HEX if you run that function, and then you could potentially have $100 in gas, depending on how long you stake it for. It could be a nightmare. It might not happen because we've seen some, I don't know what it is, improvements. I've noticed though, overall, even with the price rising, for some reason, maybe people are playing almost Solana and their meme coins, or whatever. The Gwei seems to be, not too bad. It's not as good as Chain, however, compared to what we have seen previously when it was like thousands of dollars to end stakes, it's not looking too bad, right? Thank you for anyone who's watching this because, we are a dying breed. I think I'm a dying breed, to be honest. Now, the next thing is coin market cap. Previously, we saw breaking news, other chains break, or apparently can freeze their entire whatever. And that just brings into question what it is they were watching the whole time, and who was watching, and why, and how is it that they have the ability to freeze shit? Doesn't exactly feel or sound like decentralization to me. Sounds like someone pulling string somewhere. But again, that is just my own little logic mind experiment. Now, people could point out things like that haven't happened to Pulse kind of cool. But for some reason, if I feel like it's going to take some time for the, I don't know where the disconnect is at the current point in time. So people who don't like hexagons or don't whatever, maybe they like Pulse, maybe they like Pulse X. But now the price has been kind of underperforming for a little bit because maybe people aren't buying for whatever reason. People are definitely building, but it's become extremely taxing to keep track of everything, let alone on like other chains, like such as Ethereum, Solana, whatever else is being built. And now it's just getting to the point where you really want price to go up. So how does price go up? So there's several different paths you can take, right? Assuming you haven't been living off the some sort of yield through LP providing, maybe hex staking if you've got large bags of hex, maybe providing being a validator. It's starting to look very interesting, providing that 10%. But it's like, why is the price the way it is on hex primarily? Is it an IQ test? And we are failing miserably, or I'm failing miserably because I can't figure out how to, get the price of this thing to pump. So I was doing some deep thoughts on it, not using AI, using my own supercomputer, which is my brain and your brain and everyone's brain, but they seem to rely. Although AI is pretty decent, it saves a lot of time, but I do wonder if we don't want to see cheap hex anyway, right? So if we don't want to see cheap hex anyway, either people are going to have to buy up all the hex, right? Now people are somewhat exhausted. People are hoping that there's won't use the word treasury. People are hoping that there's an address out there who will purchase on behalf of them, not yourself, but them, and they're hoping that that will make the price go up. So that would be pretty cool, right? Yeah, okay, I'm not against that. That would be all right. But the thing is, if that never happens, if no one's coming to save you and no one's coming to rescue you, and Hex did a 10,000x, and that's what it was programmed to do, and that's what it was designed to do, and then now it's kind of not doing that, as we can see on the price of Ethereum Hex. Actually, we'll go pulse chain. I do love this particular update on pulsechain.com. Whoever did that, it's kind of made me not really want to use Go Pulse anymore. Primarily because I saw a sacrifice and it kind of irritated me. So it's another group of I don't even know that. It's another group of people who have just I've watched and thought I don't like analyzing very harshly in my own little world, in my little bubble, in my little lair, which is this stream. You know, the sacrifices that appeared, and I do wonder who are other loan protocols still going, and what about the other stuff that got sacrificed? I don't know. Anyway, we are, we are at where we are at now. I was having a look around. I mean, even the Hedron, the Akos is just everything's wrecked. Like it's just wrecked fucking county. Like it's the planet of wrecked. I mean, people who are not in Pulse Chain and PulseX and Hex and INC, I've seen bets. I didn't even know. I only thought there was one bet running, but apparently there was multiple bets, and none of them on from our side. Mind you, we're all volunteers in this like endeavor to bring about freedom to the world via cryptocurrency, which may or may not take place. I saw reportedly on Twitter, on X, that none of them got paid, and I'm like, that just makes us look so. This is my streams. Like, oh, I feel bad though. Like, and I've stopped following all content. I don't want to do this, but I've basically stopped following all content. I think so, unless it's I don't know. I don't know what's going on, people. It's like the battle for free speech was actually won. Mainstream crypto, for the most part, I would say, still doesn't want to. They deny that we exist. They deny our birth. They refuse to recognize us in the crypto sphere, and I don't know why. Not everyone, but maybe, just maybe, it's because there's a whole lot of paid for shill stuffery in, the crypto space. Now, you relate that to things that happen on Sui chain. I don't even know what it is, but reportedly there was a hack and it caused people to lose a whole lot of money. I would assume if they were chasing memes. So there's a whole Pulse chain thing going over there on that chain, right? And then they get hacked for like 200 million or something US. And then the LPs just start getting drained, and then they get swapped over to Ethereum, which is, I'm actually not against that because I would have thought it would have pumped the absolute crap out of Ethereum, but yet it didn't, funny enough. So maybe Ethereum's got some deep fucking LPs. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. And we see, huge coverage, I think, oh, it's packed. And then we see somehow, somewhere, it got frozen. I'm like, hang on. So you are telling me that this fully decentralized immutable contract code being written by anyway, on their chain, they decide that they can freeze it. I don't get that. Like, how is that? Anyway, if that happened to Pulse chain, everyone would be like laughing and ripping into us. But on another chain, it just happens. The news cycle skips and continues on. Now, one thing I did like previously in the last few days happened. People might remember the Bitcoin Pizza Day, I think it was, happened to coincide with the all-time high anniversary of that. So the anniversary of the Bitcoin all-time high. The Bitcoin pizza purchase and anniversary date of that coincided with an all-time high on Bitcoin, which was kind of cool to see. Since then, we have pulled back just a little bit. Mind you, I'm just some brokey, whinging, crying over how sad I am because things aren't pumping through the roof. I'm starting to think, look, everyone knows this. This is just me repeating all the stuff I've heard. I need to check something there. So I think Bitcoin is going to pop, like obviously. Now, like I've been saying, Q4 might be interesting, and the reason that I am starting to get freaked out because everything is just wrecked. Because I was having a look at some crypto, having a look at my bags, I'm like, oh, this is not looking good compared to what it was compared to 2,000 days ago, mind you. I guess when I start feeling like this, I get this way every now and then. And I start freaking out, going, I'm gonna have money, I'm gonna have crypto, I'm gonna have money. I try really hard not to do rash moves. Now, my really hard rash move would be to sell some of the beloved maybe Pulse chain or Hex, and you go over and try and chase some yield. I'm worried that that would be pennies in front of freight trains sort of maneuvers. However, I do think that I would actually come back to the ecosphere. But the problem is, every time I would do things like this, I would do it, and then things will pump through the actual absolute roof. Now, I'm pretty sure I sold some PHEX, and I moved it over to EHEX, and then the price of PHEX just pumped through the roof. EHEX followed, but it didn't follow as hard as I thought it would, and then it sort of capped out. It didn't continue on. It didn't follow through, and now though it's sort of they're pulling back equally. So I have to check the ratios and what's going on. But that was unfortunate because I was hoping, well, you get a whole lot more T shares over there, and a whole lot more units. So the unit bias, whatever it's called, things like people like having lots of stuff. That would be kind of cool. Now, previously I visited, 10 years ago what cryptocurrency was prior to the release of Ethereum. We went through the dates. I have to pull that back from the memory bank. I'm not doing that now. And I really do think, relative to the Bitcoin pizza, that if you were to sell now, you might regret it, maybe, unless you need to, because, maybe you were hoping you could live off of the INC yield. Maybe the HEX stakes were looking okay. I think the Pulse X thing really, really hurt me personally a little bit. I was like, oh, what am I doing now? Not that I was dumping, mind you, but I did plan to sell in the future. But then, bit of a change from upper management. They decided, whatever that is, let's not fully decentralized. There's no one running this shit. Someone could just make up a fake narrative and be like, let's just get rid of the liquidity, and everyone just pull the liquidity based on that. And then it's like, yeah, now we're in prime. We got the prime real estate, right? And everyone's packed their bags and ready to go. The problem is there's no train. Where's the train coming? We've got to get this train to get things pumping. What is going on? I don't know. You could say, oh, like fudge your own bags, but I'm just pointing out, for day 2000, I am not where I thought I would be. Mind you, day 365 might be pretty damn interesting, in my opinion. Well, not exactly, but a year from today, next year might be pretty cool, considering it's after Q4 of what's coming this year, in what I believe would be like an insane bull run. As everyone believes, I believe the consensus is that cryptocurrency will go through the roof, because on the back of Bitcoin's insane run up to like 2048K, I had a dream, and the dream also represented Ethereum at 11K. If we see numbers like that, I'm pretty sure after Bitcoin pumps and after Ethereum pumps, if the Gwei isn't too wrecked, Ethereum on EHEX hopefully should pump as well. But I then believe the the altcoins will follow. Now, to what extent, I'm not sure, because that is based on the large bags holder of Ethereum having any sort of interest in Pulse Chain, which they may not. But if the narrative around HEX, Richard Hart, fraudster, scammer, whatever else was alleged, reportedly, then if that goes away and then maybe they get some more interest, maybe, that's a lot of maybes. Maybe price goes up, right? But there's no guarantee of that. So I'm thinking, well, if all of that doesn't take place and no one's coming to save us, and mainstream media doesn't become more friendly to crypto, specifically Pulse Chain, then what? Well, I figure that what I should do is practice what I preach. And I may revert to going back to my little purchases of possibly EX, but most likely PX. And then letting the contract do its thing and doing some little purchases in, providing some little bits of fuel into the system, and then waiting for it to double and triple and see what happens. And if it does double and triple, then maybe take some profits off that. But it won't be to the level of multi-millions, because if you inject 1 million into the system and then it becomes 3 and then you take it out, cool. But after slippage, how much are you taking out? Maybe 1.3. No, but if it was, say, a 3 million, then you could wreck and bump on everyone's heads. Now, there's probably other people out there saying you could do LP, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, everyone can figure that out for themselves. But ultimately, I'm trying to figure out how to pump the price. And I mentioned before, I think price is going to pump if there's scarce hex. Now that sounds stupid, but if there is no hex anywhere and the liquidity is relatively thin across multiple chains, well, it's primarily Ethereum, mainly Pulse Chain. If EHEX is locked up either in staking mechanisms, in it's wrapped, I guess, essentially over on Pulse Chain as well. Maybe you want that. I'm not so sure. Providing LP between those two, you'd have to look into that, what that would do. But if you have low liquidity, you have HEX locked away, and people engage in things. I was having a look at that other thing, the protocols, smart contracts that are written based on the back of the T-share mechanism, which is amazing. HSIs, Hedron, Icosa, and actuators. Also, the perpetuals, I'm starting to think might be good purchases. Also, basically anything that refrains you from selling HEX and being able to lock it on. Now, this sounds like just me beating a dead horse at the moment, but the more I think about it, I'm thinking, if, for instance, we can absolutely destroy allow no one into this ecosphere, like, that sounds stupid because you want more people in the ecosphere. Okay, cool. But I don't think you want a whole, I don't know what you call it. You want to basically gain control as much of the hex as you can and lock it away for as long as you can, but at the same time being able to survive. You don't want to just like lock it away for like 5. We're like, oh crap, I have no money left. No, that's not what you want. But if you are able to get to a point where you can purchase a whole lot of hex, lock it away. We've seen the OA do it. I took a whole lot of hex off the market. So what's left? And the result of price is a result of who? Now, if the OA has locked away and the OA has done that, then what is the rest of us doing? I'm not saying go out and just like lock away all your hex and don't hold any liquid, because God candle could be coming at any moment, which they could. They might not, though. God candles are yet to appear in this day 2000. You could say God candles appeared around, around the sacrifice phase. However, it never got to $1, right? Never got to $1. We got to crack through, smash through the dollar. And how are we going to do that? I really think it's going to be through mass. We want, in my opinion, hex to be scarce. That is, to me, the same as hex being expensive on every chain, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but if hex is extremely expensive on every chain, it's also going to be extremely scarce to obtain. Now, what causes scarcity? We covered this before. Locking, staking, maybe providing LP. However, here's the conundrum. If you are staking and there's no real benefit for you to stake, long term, even short term, because the yield is so low, it's like, how are you going to attract new people into the ecosystem? Because they're not probably going to want to understand how all this works. So it's going to be a long, extensive learning curve. And then the end result will be, but hang on, you guys are wrecked because your theory is not working thus far, because we've seen large amounts of hex staked, yet the price on Pulse Chain is under a penny. Simply put, that's the argument. Their logic is actually correct at this point in time. I hate to say it. In the future, though, you don't know what the future can hold. Like I said, God can become any moment. But that is going to require people not selling, including myself, which I haven't been. But I am extra. I thought I'm going to make a stream about this instead of selling things and regretting it, because I have not sold for the longest time, except for, as I said before, my little experiment with HEX kind of had a little mini pump, and then just it lost the ratio, and then it underperformed in the more recent pump. And now we're sort of sitting here twiddling our thumbs, deciding what to do. Well, I am, and I'm like, well, maybe I should just sell some crypto, because I remember I got gifted some the other day. I was very grateful. Like, it was like I was dying for water, and there was like the drop of water I needed, and I was tempted to re-inject it into the Pulse Chain, Pulse X, INC Hex. Like, what would I do with it, right? It was a completely different chain. It was completely unexpected. Very much appreciated. And then I was like, nah, I have to sell this shit. So I just dumped it. Had I entered it into maybe PX, or it might have done okay, INC, even Pulse or Pulse X, it would have done okay, right? Okay. However, if I then held to now, it would have reverted back. It would have gone up, it would go back down. Not exactly pumped the price, It wasn't. Yeah. Then when I was gifted the crypto, I thought maybe I'm approaching this crypto thing in the wrong light. I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna do these farms and get this yield, gonna get these states, get this money, cash mint out this stuff, grow my stack, etc., etc. Now, after reading what Grok has to say, it's like freaking out. It's like, you should just sell as soon as you can, because what happens if you've got like $10 and then there's a 50% correction, and then you don't have $10 anymore, you have five, right? And I'm like, no, that won't. Oh, hang on, wait. What was the price of Hex? Near the all-time high on Ethereum. What is the price of EHEX now? It is not looking too good relative to what it was. Now, we should have a look what it actually is now. So my dream would be to see EHEX at parity with PX. Now, that might sound stupid, because the arbitrage and the fees should make EHEX always a little bit cheaper than PX. But then we had a look at liquidity the other day, and it appears that it seems to be locked around 33% of one. So, $1 PX, you're looking at probably 33 cents on EHEX, or $33 on, etc., etc., which is not bad, but then, which came first, chicken and egg? How do you pump this thing? I do understand what the HSIs are trying to achieve, because it does, in essence, it's similar to a bond market, which is good. And then you lock away, ideally, for maximum stake. And then when you do that, you take the hex off the market, which is a similar thing to do, because then you can see on chain where the actual hex is sitting. And if it's sitting idle in a whole bunch of different people's wallets, and you can calculate and go, well, that is going to be sell pressure. Now, if that is sell pressure, then like I think that hex is one of the cleanest on both chains, EHEX and Pulse chain. It's very clear to see what is taking place. Most likely, you could calculate what a large injection of capital would do and go, well, okay, if this is going to take place and then a large sell takes place based on these wallets, you could do a rough calculation and you could see is it going to be net positive or net negative. And I personally would think that the amount of hex that is left in circulation may not be all held, where the OA has burnt all, from my understanding. And then I guess there's other individuals left who would have large amounts of hex relative to what's left in that little section of the amount of hex that's in existence. And then there would be even small, like based on the leagues, then there'll be even smaller portions left based on that. So from one point of view, I could see people having smaller amounts, just trying to build up little amounts and then staking those little amounts. And it's not really worth it. But a price appreciation over the time that you're locking, it may come into play. So say you lock it away for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months, and then it appreciates by 1, 2, 3, 10 times. That would be kind of cool for a small amount, because then they would most likely be able to sell their little mini profits, which would be good, a good experience. It'd be good for their bags. Now, why is the ants in my fucking house? Seriously. Anyway, I have no idea where they come. Now, the next thing is, if you're an absolute god whale, like pun intended, and you put your stake away, it's probably worth it to be able to take and scrape these little amounts. For the little guys, not so much anymore. For big giant, like massive players, it's definitely worth still staking and even providing LP. However, that goes against, in my opinion, the idea of low liquidity, because you want it to increase. So that's kind of where I'm at with my thinking, and I'm getting confused now, because I'm thinking, if that's the case, is it the fact that a large player then wants to inject capital into its own system to make more money for itself and make more LP? Because once the price increases across all of these products, say they increase across Pulse Chain, Pulse X, HEX, IC, they all go up. We see insane Bitcoin prices. We see insane Ethereum prices. It's going to be hard unless we see similar things that took place during the sacrifice phase, where just big buys just come in and they just keep coming in constantly, which would be good. But then, for every action, there's equal opposite reaction, something like that. Basically, you would then see cells. And where would the cells be coming from? Most likely, it would be coming from it would be coming from wallets with large amounts of hex. And so, where is that hex? It's sitting in the wallets. And where can you see that? On chain. That's why it's very clear to see all of this. Now, I don't know, and I don't see how my logic is not clear enough to be able to see the future and how it will exactly work, or even if it's ever going to happen. Because, like I said, many people coming in to HEX. This is primarily HEX right now. This is not. This is not like if a scenario outside of this HEX bubble that I'm talking about takes place, where somehow Pulse Chain, Pulse X somehow go viral. Absolute huge adoption, and in the next few years, it does things like Solana did and Polkadot did and Ethereum did and etc. etc. And then we just see mass price appreciation across Pulse chain. Then we see potentially Pulse X take off a little bit further than it has, and then it's a race which one of those starts, dropping some decimals. Because the dream, I would imagine, is if Pulse chain and Pulse X start dropping decimals, or is it a 10x, 100x, 1000x? The 1000x range would be very nice. And then the 10,000x would be just mind blowing for even smaller leagued individuals. For larger leagued individuals, I have no idea what you guys will do. You have multiple millions beyond imagination, and you would then have to figure out what to do with it. I have no idea what to do with it. There's a lot of tools out there in which you could burn it if you wanted to, create mass validators and get insane yield, create insane. See, I do wonder if price goes up, God candle comes about, one God candle followed by another one, followed by another one, and then you see people with lots of liquidity sit on the sidelines, and then it's worth more, the little liquidity, but then purchases come through. When the purchases come through, liquidity enters and locks those big giant God candles in place, and then you got these big price walls or whatever. Not sure exactly how it works, but I can imagine it would work something like that. And then you'd see price sort of like go up and stay up without absolutely murdering the price, because we'd see also potential, if price go up, however much Pulse is like lying around, whatever Pulse X lying around, they might sort of sell that, because it is very similar, I guess, because we know how much. Well, you kind of know how much Pulse exists, and Pulse X exists, similar to Pulse X. I mean, similar to HEX, but it's not very often you see like Pulse chain and Pulse X just burnt and locked away, like the whole stack almost, like all 90% plus. So that's why I do think among Pulse chain, Pulse X dropping zero, you'll see probably HEX do some like pretty insane things, and then but it just needs that. It just needs that one, like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to kick it off. That's the thing. It's going to be something. I'm not sure what. At the moment, it just feels like there's they call it the squeeze or whatever, waiting for people to capitulate and exit. I'm tempted just to sell some stuff, like I said, just to get out. Because every time I do that, I watch it grow up. And I'm like, I swear to God, someone's watching my wallet. And as soon as I do anything, they do the exact opposite just to troll me. And it would surprise me. Which would, which, and like, that's why sometimes I'm like, anyway, sometimes that's what happens. And I'm like, oh my God, why did that happen? Why? It's interesting though, because like I said, it's very easy to do in this environment. Yeah, what else? It's kind of cool when you see these big, like, ancient wallets wake up from Bitcoin. You're like, what are they going to do with that? Well, then you see some big, huge purchases from like hedge funds. Like, what are they going to do with that? And then, yeah, so SEC FUD gone, Freedom won, like Clarity there. What else? Like listed on pretty important sites, in my opinion, that maybe not many people hear about, but people who have a lot of Ethereum would know about. What else? Some like more mainstream influencers talking about it, giving recognition to it. But yet, I guess what you can't change is history, and the history would be people who experienced buying at all-time highs and waiting for years. Maybe they didn't like some marketing or something. I don't know. Maybe they didn't like basically price just being run into the ground whilst Bitcoin's making it to all-time highs. The entire market was pumping, mind you. the Trump pump didn't really help. It just took all the oxygen out of the entire crypto space, and everyone went into Trump coin, and then made a few millionaires over there, but they don't seem to return, I don't think. So that's what I'm thinking next. Moving on from that thought is the ability to remove debts would be good. The ability to get other income outside of crypto would be good. To then most likely inject it into crypto, to then hopefully pump that, because then I hold crypto, and pumping my own bags would be good. And I don't really want to pump things I don't actually use, because you got to wonder if someone somewhere finds this magical box that produces infinite money and tells everyone else about it, but then they don't use it themselves, as we've heard people say. You would wonder why that is. What's wrong with the magical box if they're not using it? So clearly, I'm not using the magical box because I don't have infinite money. But if I start using it again, maybe, just maybe, we'll see some cool stuff take place, right? Like that goes for anyone who's new to this space or has been in it for a while. The thing is, though, then another checkpoint we're gonna get through, another hurdle, roadblock, whatever. Then you see the issue with people with not an issue, people who became greatly wealthy, and then are able to take their money out whenever they want, which is fine. Are they then re-injecting that into the system where they made all this money? I'm not so sure. I guess here's an example. So you held Bitcoin for 16 years. You go to CoinMarketCap. You go, okay, all right, cool. I found this old wallet, and it's now worth like insane amounts of millions of dollars. You're like, oh, maybe what I should do is I should use that insane amount of money from Bitcoin and then buy more Bitcoin with it. Now, how many people do you think are doing? I don't think that's exactly what would take place. Shouldn't laugh by a joke, but like, if you think that doesn't apply to post chain, post X, INC, and HEX, it's you might be slightly delusional, because unless you really believe in the system, Bitcoin that does not have the ability to burn it all and then to get more of it, which would be kind of cool if you did find all this insane Bitcoin, because it's like near the all-time high. You're like, okay, burn this shit, go on, that'll be like insane, like anyway, and then you'd mint more of it, and you're like, oh, cool, I got more of it, so it doesn't matter, and hopefully price is like worth more. But except for that, little mechanism, I guess, that I think it only exists in HEX. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure the t-shirt rate is kind of unique the way HEX does it in terms of any other cryptocurrency. That's actually still functioning, because all the other ones have just like been driven into the ground like even further. So if HEX does come back, it's here to stay. But yeah, it's a pretty cool mechanism, people. I'm not sure they figured out. Now, that being said, just pausing here. So yeah, I'm gonna wonder where the external money is coming in from, because I don't think it's going to be internally generated. I thought maybe once at one point that you could possibly, maybe if you had large LP and then you get INC and then use the INC to purchase maybe internal purchases. I'm not so sure, but I'm starting to think now it's more if you have a cup, and not financial advice, you got a cup and you got holes leaking out everywhere. You can't sort of, like if you have 1 liter of water, right? Listen carefully. If you have 1 liter of water and you put a hole in that liter, a hole in the cup before you pour the water in, and put a tube in that, put the tube in the cup, and then put the tube running back round the cup, and then you put 1 million or 1 liter in, right? And then it's like, well, where's the water going? Back into itself. Okay, cool. How much did the water grow by? It's not growing. It's just the same old thing. And then you still figure out, okay, well, if I put a little tiny hole in the bottom, just drip this little bit out, it's still going to grow, right? No, it's not. It's not going anywhere. You need to inject more liquid into it to make it grow. Otherwise, it ceases to exist. It's like a coal engine. If you're not pouring coal into the fire, then what's going to happen? It's gonna run out of coal, and then what? You're going to need to refill. So that is why I think, you know, that is why I think even myself not buying much. That's why the price is going up. Simple as that. What else? That is about it. That is pretty much the crux of why the price isn't going up. Um, I guess that's the IQ test as well. And there's a big if though. If God candles come, where are they coming from? Like, is it coming from me? It's not coming from me. I don't know who it's coming from. Like, people need to like get their reality in check. And we're like, we want $1,000 hex, right? But we don't. We want to use the same liter of water to make 1,000 liters. It's like, well, hang on. So yeah, that's why I wonder. I do wonder about the whole um, when the INC rate was reduced because it probably very unsustainable longer term, and then the hex APY has been like just stripped like right back. It's encouraging basically everyone who has liquid hex to stake it in some way, shape, or form, but it's also what's that word when you like believe two different things at the same time? I can't think of it right now. Basically, that's what's happening, and people are saying we need to stake hex, but at the same time, we need the price to go up. And if you are staking it, it's locking it away, it disappears, but then who's buying it? Because apparently people are still selling it. And that's why we're seeing this low price. Cognitive dissonance, that's what it is. We believe that 1 liter of water can turn into 1,000 liters of water without the extra 999 liters of water being put in. That's impossible. That is illogical. That is borderline the definition of insanity. Because if you think that's happening, it's not going to happen. As much as you want to will it, unless there's another way that I'm not aware of where more money is injected, I do not see how it's taking place. And on top of that, if you think your 1 liter of water is going to become 1,000 liters of water, whilst you don't have that tube, the feedback loop, and you have it actually exiting, so you've got a cup of water and a little hole in it, and it's dripping out, and you think that 1 liter is going to turn into 1,000 liters is going to stay there. Again, look at the price of hex, and that is why the cognitive dissonance amongst everyone has been amazing, because it is very clear that people do not understand cell pressure and what it does. Like I said, I sat back and stupidly, naively, rightfully so, staked longer. I've restaked at all-time highs and did not take much profit. I then re-injected a similar amount that I took out because I thought maybe, just maybe, okay, there's maybe just maybe that would help the entire system. I think it did at the time, but I'm still paying for it now. I'm like, wish I didn't do that. Wish I did it now. Wish I did it now. So what have we got? The one thing working in our favor, if primarily HEX is, the one thing working in our favor is the t-shirt rate and the scarcity factor and the ability for people to realize eventually, by the time they realize, it's going to be too late. Like, they don't know what is like happening every day, every second. Like, there's a timer like ticking. And a good one is you go back and have a look at the HEX stakes, if you made any ever, anyone out there, and you can go, shit, I staked that way back then, and that time's gone. And now look at the price, and now look at the price, and what I could have done, but what I did do, and that was it's gonna haunt you forever. The decisions you made, like when you sold or didn't sell, or staked or didn't stake, you're gonna be like, oh man, I had that big fat stack there, and I restaked, I burned that shit, and then I can't help but think that same ledger is going to exist, which it will, in about 10 years, or 5-10 years time. And say the price is higher, like say some, I don't know, benevolent alien species discover HEX and decides to buy this shit through cryptocurrency. And then they pump the absolute shit out of Pulse chain, everything. Or maybe someone in Bitcoin or Ethereum really discovers this stuff, and that's maybe they decide they don't like the Sui chain or whatever, or they don't like Solana or whatever, and they want to try just a little bit of everything, like, because generally over 10 years this stuff pumps like a lot if you pay attention, and that takes place, and then price goes up. Then you'll be looking back and going, I remember when I end staked this, and it seemed like doom and gloom because we're like under a penny on PX itself. And then I sold it all, rightfully, wrongfully. So maybe you had a whole like a lot of it. You just need some money, whatever, you sell it, and then the price is like whatever it is in the future, and you're looking like, oh shit, I wish I didn't do that. At the moment, I'm looking back, oh shit, I wish I just sold a little bit. I wish I just sold like 50K and put it into like a business account. And then once I held it in the business account, just sat on it. And then the sacrifice would have come along. And I would have dumped that shit into the sacrifice. And then would have got X amount of whatever. I don't know if I would have put it up. Like, I might have missed the Pulse X sacrifice. I'm not going to always Pulse chain. But then I would have then had X, Y, and Z amount. And then being able to like make a big giant farm. I'm like, oh my God. Why wasn't I thinking like that then? But it is what it is. And I'm sitting here learning my lessons. So this is why I'm streaming instead of pressing buttons right now, because I need some some money, man. Oh my God. Anyway, it's not that bad, but it's like, it's been like, I'm watching them and I'm getting very itchy trigger finger, and I want to sell this shit because I'm like, oh, I want to sell it, like get out and then just put into something else and get some better APY in the meantime, which I was looking at. So this is the actual way to think. Now, I was watching the stream, one of the very few streamers I still continue to watch, and I was like, okay, makes sense, cool. But again, the whole point of this, in my opinion, is you should start with the positive first, and then you should cover the negatives. Blah, 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 blah. That's what you've been trained. Everyone's been taught that. Anyway, I'm going to do the opposite, because doing the opposite, sometimes you pick up things you miss. Now, if people look at this, they will say, but hang on, you need to buy HEX, and then you need to buy HSI before you can do anything. And then that means you're injecting more into the system. And if you go through the analogy, as I mentioned before, without doing that, the price of HEX is very unlikely to go up, especially with the same amount of capital in existence. It's basically moving crypto around. It's not going to do much. It's funny though, because if everyone understood that, everyone would just like in crypto would be like, okay, everyone can get rich together. But no one wants to get rich together. Everyone wants to sell and and shoot each other in the back. I was like, okay, cheers, bro. Cheers. thanks, thanks, buddy. Um, and then, you know, things like this come out. But if I try to explain this to other people who have no idea about HEX, T-shares, network fees, it's going to be extremely hard to sell to be like, by the way, did you know, you know, and even if you have a look at things like, what are they called? The Decis, whatever. They're actually, I'm thinking about it now. I was like, oh, okay. You buy that token and the stake ends and then you locked in the T-shirts, which is good. People have to understand what it is that is. And if they see what they're looking at is price, it's like stable, not moving, they go, oh, I don't want this thing. This isn't moving. This isn't Trump coin. You know, this isn't the latest pump dot, whatever their version is. Now we've got pump dot tires over here. Well, I'm yet to see. I mean, I did see somewhere maybe people should make tokens and stuff. It's cool, but I'm like, me myself, I'm not looking for that. But I'm getting old, man. Like, but yeah, this thing here though, if for instance, people, if this was to take off, and HSIs were to take off, then you would see potential injection, because you don't know where the capital could be coming from. It could be coming from like they could be selling HEX to go over to PHEX, and if you consider the ecosystem together, again, if you want 1 liter of water to turn into 1,000 liters, and you're not adding the 999, you are actually delusional. Like, there is no question about that. And if you say no, but no, it is physically impossible to do so. If anyone can prove me wrong, then you can go and invent a time machine and then build it and then show it to me, because that is probably equivalent. I'm yet to see that, because that's how maths works. 1 + 1 = 2, and if you think 1 + 1 equals 1,000, then you're kind of missing some numbers. Yeah. Now, this is logic. This is clear. This is that makes sense, right? But somewhere along the lines, people tell me when I watch streams that this new sacrifice is going to pump the price, right? Now, there is actual. You've been there. What's happening? I remembered when you said almost 2K, and I was on stream. I was saying, like, what is going on, man? And then you're like 2K. Then I'm like, oh, that's what it is. That's why I had the stream today, because I'm like, happy 2000 day, because it is a milestone. But then, where was I? The sacrifices, in theory, make sense, but the problem is when you have, 2 things, and then you sacrifice one, okay, and then you go, okay, but you sacrifice one, and then the one thing will turn into 3, and you're like, okay, cool, so that's more. That's a total of 4. That's amazing. But then what happens is the 2.5 gets sold, and then you're left with what? Less than you started with, just a little bit most of the time. And it's like, well, hang on, that didn't work too well. The sacrifice was supposed to, make everything pop. But then what happens is it gets extracted, and it's frustrating to see. The only one that hasn't, mind you, were the ones that I actually sacrificed for. Freedom of speech, and expectation, right to move, right to assembly, and wonderful things like that, and I still have no expectation. And I've been pleasantly surprised that it just sits there. It just, this big giant like entity level amount of crypto just sits there doing nothing. And OA just sits there for the longest time doing nothing, and then decides just to obliterate all yield, but then burn like a whole lot of HEX. Almost like, as an example, like, this is what you're supposed to do. But we've never seen OA sell. So if you had a system where no one ever sold, I don't know because if no one's ever selling, no one's ever buying. So it's kind of a problem. But then that goes all the way back to my first theory, which is to have cheap hex anywhere, is to have scarce hex everywhere. And if scarce hex is everywhere, no one can buy it. If no one can buy it, the only people that want to buy it are going to have to pay a lot for it. And then on top of that mechanism, if that works, you then have the t-shirt rate and the daily payout, which, although low at the moment, if in the future it's worth 1,000 times more, 10,000 times more, that becomes more highly sought after. And people are digging around at the moment and they're going like, hang on, where can I get my yield from? I think Bear's probably going to shoot me through the stream here, but it says Unichain of all things from Uniswap, which it's okay. I don't mind how they've done it. But they have, for instance, this pool here. Now, I haven't checked how long this pool's been open for, because we all saw what happened with Pulse X. But we see 82.03%. So this is what I'm telling you. Do I at the moment just take some of my energy out, kill the price a little bit, put it in here, build up some extra capital, and then chuck it back in, and hopefully it increases the price of the pulse chain? For instance, if that's what I was doing. And I was like, oh my God, I still want to do that. But I'm like, no, I won't. Maybe I will, I don't know. But things like that, it's just curiosity. But they do have this APR reward here, 21.18% uni. You can see people making money from this thing, man. Like, I would say they've removed 100K after netting how much for a few days. It'd be pretty impressive, right? So that is usually that's what I miss about Pulse X. We used to have that, but mind you, again, you need to remember that Gwei fees are horrendous, right? So then we have a look over here. They're currently not quite that horrendous. So this is why I'd like to see EX make somewhat of a comeback. Now I'm understanding. Like, okay, I would love to see EX at parity, but again, full loop. We talked about this before. Not going to happen without more liquidities in the pools. Currently, it's been set to about what seems to be 33% of whatever Pulse X is, best of my understanding, for whatever reason, Then we see this here, Gwei performing quite well, so whatever upgrades it's had, hopefully Pulse Chain gets it. And then Pulse Chain stops, increasing so much, because I remember at one stage, Pulse Chain was going to be extremely cheap, but in terms of units, it doesn't seem as cheap as it, as it should be. Well, not as it should be, but just it doesn't seem as cheap. It's like, oh, hang on, this might not last as long, Like you're thinking, I guess in terms of one Pulse Chain one day being worth 1 ETH. Currently, it's like, well, I'm burning all these ETH. I'm imagining burning all this ETH just to do a few cents transaction. Like, what is going on? But yeah, it is interesting. I don't want HEX to die completely. I don't want Ethereum to die completely, because although Pulse Chain is cheaper, faster, for some reason people they get to here, they get to the Etherscan, they understand Etherscan, then they understand that Uniswap, which is a good concept to understand. They understand self-custody, decentralized exchange, although we've seen some issues with decentralized exchanges delisting things like HEX and Pulse Chain, and they've eventually listed them back. But anyway, then the argument is you don't really want to be playing with Ethereum because gas fees suck, so Pulse Chain exists, and Pulse Chain is going to crush everything, which I think it will eventually over time in terms of price. It will absolutely kill it. But for the time being, I want to see Ethereum super expensive, and then everyone can be happy because then their imaginary treasury will be worth like 6 times more. And then everyone will salivate and be like, well, if any anyway, I won't go over to what some other entity may or may not do, because there's no point. It's yeah. But we have this here. Sui still doing its thing after near death. It's still a number 11. So how come Sui is $3.62 and Pulse Chain is a mere, it's quite low. I can't help but wonder what would take place if Pulse Chain hits these levels. Again, it takes money injected in as a vote of confidence for Pulse Chain to get those prices. But say it did hit the price. In my opinion, Pulse Chain is better than Soy, right? So why can't Pulse Chain be worth more at some point in time? I mean, I think it can be. So 3.62 Pulse Chain, you most likely never see any streamer again in the Pulse Chain. We will be basically ruling the world. We'll be like the new Illuminati, or we'll be like I don't know what would be like, because we would own a lot of shit. Basically, I would say, yeah, that would be. I think $3.69 would be a good price target for Pulse Chain, and then like $36.90 for Pulse X, and then $369 for Hex. I mean, $369 for Hex. That'd be all right. That would be acceptable. Yeah, I would. I can't. That scares the crap out of me. Those figures. But if it was to happen, it'd have to happen first, and then once it happens, I'd have to figure out what to do. And then I don't know, but those LP rewards might be not looking too bad. Anyway, that's the hoping part done. A few hours into the stream, so we'll leave it there on a somewhat positive note. But just remember, this is not like no one's gonna work for you for free. No one is working for you. I'm a volunteer. You choose to watch this. You choose to press buttons. So unless you want the price to go up, I don't know how else to say it, but 1 + 1 = 2, right? And if you want 1 to equal 1,000 or 10,000, and you think you can do it through streaming or making a post on X, I mean that's fine. I mean the amount of content on X is quite useful, especially crypto related stuff, in my opinion. But it was pointed out like years ago. It's like, you do understand this is like a full on echo chamber, and all the I was like posting insanely. Was it HEX or something? And everyone's like, you do understand that like no one else has seen this. I'm like, yeah, I got nothing else to do. Maybe it's good. But all it takes is someone outside of the community to notice that and be like, hey, what are these loon birds doing? What are these conspiracy theorists doing? What's this one doing? What are you guys doing over here with your building and stuff? What's this guy doing over here with he's trying to help everyone? What's this other people doing all this wonderful, amazing stuff? It's like, what are these like DJs doing? It's like basically there's a whole community that was once very homogenous, extremely homogenous hexagons, and now it's become a market where there's like a market for everything, just to a certain degree. The problem is that there are some issues because some of the stuff out there may not be tried and tested, or may just be outright copies or clones or some other shit, and that may not be the right thing. And that could cause issues. I don't know if people play with that. But again, you have all that, which is great. You have, but at the same time, I feel the very fundamentals are just lacking in terms of understanding how maths works. Because outside of HEX and the T-share rate and the locking up and there's like very low liquidity, and being able to push things up and down easier, it becomes lighter, so to speak, in my opinion. It's just like people don't understand that. Well, like we need more postcards. Like people don't understand that if, as I said before, if someone held Bitcoin, and not including HEX, if someone held Bitcoin until now, and then quote unquote cashed it out into an exchange or something. I don't know how they'll do it. It's like hundreds of millions. It's like, I don't think they're then going to go back and buy more HEX, more Bitcoin with that. I could be wrong, but maybe they just wouldn't sell to start off with. If, however, so that's one little section. Think about that. And then the next section, you go, okay, but then if they were to then pump, the price of Ethereum, maybe they would inject that money, economic energy, into that other token, and which would decrease the price of one and increase the price of the other. And if you look at it from the cup analysis, the liquid flowing, you would then have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 100 million money injected into a cup. And if there's no holes in that cup, and the cup can grow with the amount of liquid, then that would be a whole lot of water in that particular cup, right? Then you'd have, most likely, people then start poking their holes in the cup and then trying to extract. And then they'll be telling me that, no, I am creating value. And I'll be like, okay, you're creating value. How are you creating? Explain to me the maths. And then they'll say, and then they'll go, okay, here's a cup of water. I actually have a cup. I won't use that one because dogs was already done. So here's a cup of water, and how much are you putting in? Okay, and how much do you expect to get out? How do you expect to get it out? Okay, and how much can be left in the cup? It's like, okay, why is the price like it is? Okay, now I think, yeah, I will go back and look at this though. Now, I do. Problem is, people in the current system, I would say, are somewhat exhausted. They would have been like, hey, okay, I sacrificed my 2 years. I don't know. Maybe they bought the all-time highs. Maybe they didn't get in at the very beginning of HEX to build up some wealth. Maybe they don't have these rolling stakes coming out every year of any value at all, and it's completely new. And then they have to wait, be patient, and they didn't like that. And then they waited, and they were patient, and they thought they did the right thing. Maybe they even staked in HEX. Who knows? Maybe they got a copy of the fork, whatever. And now they're down extremely hard, I would say. And then you're going to try and tell those people, oh, now you're back working, and I think you should buy. It's not like it's different people. Like someone's built this, which is cool. I'm saying people that know about this are probably those same people, and they're like, hang on, why am I going to work and then put money into this? And it's like, you got to explain to them the whole cup and how boring that is. But it does make sense, because I remember I started off backwards. I said, okay, this is the negatives. All right, so this is the positive. The positives basically are people are purchasing HEX, and people are then basically people might be purchasing Ethereum first. Then they might be swapping that for Pulse Chain, and then they might be purchasing HEX, and then they might be doing the HSI, and then they might be locking it away, and then instead of selling it in 15 years time, or how many, like 15.2 years time, then along the way they could take out some of the, like, a different way to look at it would be, you wait, not only do you get 300%, not guaranteed, but 300% in terms of quantity of HEX tokens as per the smart contract and its function, assuming you actually see out the entire period of the length of time in which you agreed with the smart contract, with the truth engine. If you did that, then you'll get more at the end, and who knows, maybe it's worth more because we've got some interesting tokenomics going over here with the T-share rate and HEX. And it's cheaper and faster now, Pulse Chain, which is a positive, and that shit might pump. And that would be good for the price of HEX, most likely, because everything, lifts together in a rising tide if they're floating on that liquid. Now, then we see here, right, the action. Okay, so then on top of that mechanism, then you have the purchase in, which I can understand. I haven't even engaged with this at all, but I'm just briefly, to best of my knowledge, summarizing what I understand. Basically, then you purchase in, okay, cool, lock away, cool. Take that and then claim for something else, which you then claim for something else. You have different categories, X, Y, Z, in terms of years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, relative to what they set. And then it runs, lives off of the T share, which is kind of cool function. And then you're able to potentially scrape that yield. It accrues, and as it develops, you then, I guess, I'm not sure if it's a mint or what it is, you get amounts of things you can sell. And I can't remember what it was. Over time, eventually hits bottom one parity, which is good because it's on top of the actual hex stake, which is cool, right? So that's like something built around the T share. So that's very interesting. Again, I'm not sure how to make the price pump because people maybe in the ecosphere have no money left, or they have money but they don't want to put it back into the same thing. I mean, that's an interesting concept because then I don't know if the money is there. Then once it gets sold, is it then still extracting from the existing, not pie, but existing amount of things that are there? You can say no, it's new. It's an external bubble created outside the main bubble. But then if you pull, EX, PX, and then everything else together, because it's built on the back of it, you could say you could sell that, but then what are you selling it into, if that makes sense? It's possibly net positive just, which is good. But then you could do a self-feeding loop, which you then buy more X with the tokens and then have like a full in-depth bond market replicated with the inclusion of HSIs and the thing where you can buy them, and then also what else? So that's pretty interesting. But again, this is to me, it's very complex, and I'm not sure people are going to go out of their way to do it. It may work because then if you have a whole lot of hex and a whole lot, you engage with this particular smart contract, which I'm not endorsing by any means. I'm just pointing out things like this exist. Anything I talk about is unofficial manner. So therefore, you can engage with that. And if you had a whole lot of hex, and then maybe you're creating some extra value, and you can then use the extra value to sell it. And so I'm not sure if when you're swapping through how you're going to sell, it's not that you're extracting from the system. It'd almost be net neutral now. Think about it, because you would take into account the existence of the new thing, which would be this, or the tokens that you can sell if you want to sell. And then as you get access to that based on the T-share rate, because you still have your HSI based on his name, with the things that you would sell as extra, it'd still be part of the system, and you'd be extracting that from the system, but it'd be net neutral because it's sort of like leveled up, as opposed to waiting for 15.2 years and then hitting sell and then just copying mass leverage. So that's what I like about it, because then it would encourage people to enter in and go, okay, well, I want to access some of these other tokens, but first I need the HSI. Yeah, because currently, unless you have a whole lot of money, a big giant purchaser of Ethereum, Pulse chain, etc., there's no, to me, as a smaller player, it's like, well, why are people going to come in and purchase large amounts of HEX and then stake it for lesser yield when arguably they could go to something like Ethereum of all things. I'm talking about Ethereum Unichain, whatever, which is, they've done okay. There's a whole lot of money over there too, mind you, and they can get X amount of APR, whatever, which people are probably maybe interested in, because you have a look here. There's some add remove, so that people are making some money over there, which would be cool if I had that money to then I didn't have to. So say I had 98,000, right? 98,000, and then I removed that. I'm not sure you can see it. Yeah, very bottom. So 98,000. Then imagine you have that, and then you pull it out of publishing. Right? You not murder, dump the price a bit, bridge out, whatever. Then you put it over there. You get some more. Watch it grow a little bit, and then in my mind, I would be like, okay, I'm either going to skim what I need and then try and buy back cheaper into like whatever, say pulse chain. Um, Maybe the price goes up and then you'd be pretty bitter. You're like, God damn, now what do I do? Which is a possibility. And then you would be like, well, maybe I'm not going back over there. So that is one risk of like encouraging people to exit the system. But mind you, if I had made like $500,000 and then bought some unit, like managed unit somewhere and getting rental income, it's like, oh, that's crap because HEX taking better. Well, maybe it's not now. But say you did that, then the income that I would be getting in, I would then not have to be, that would not be sell pressure on people living off of something like, endless rolling stakes or something. I don't know. The price of Hedron's pretty wrecked. Price of Con is pretty wrecked. It's all built around, the t-shirt price of HEX in essence across both chains. It's not like ripping on those systems. It's like just if thing mathematics says it's 1 + 1 = 2. Now, so I was sort of saying, so if you then get that income from say like rental property or something, then you might decide, okay, now I'm going to play with the HEX contract again, and we're going to DCA in, because quite often when you taking into account the history, the history of this lady HEX and what she's previously done, I mean, has it been completely faithful? I don't know. Like, you hit all-time highs, things are looking good, and then she changed on me, man. Like, I don't know if I like her anymore. I'm stuck with, and then the price is at what? I guess if that's an analogy, you could use it either way. Maybe it's a dude or something, but maybe it's a pet you have, all of a sudden turns on you. It's crazy. Like, what's this thing doing? I don't know. But yeah, and then assuming you don't take into account that history, but from its current point now, it's a big ask to forget about the history. But you could be like, oh, maybe I'll DC a little bit in because every time I've done it, it's worked. I would say it's worked. My inability to take profits when I should have, that's on me. So I think that's about where we're at. Keynotes would be, remember mathematics, people, and how the world works and how money works and how 1 + 1 = 2. That is like the backbone of isn't that what code's written on, like ones and zeros and shit? Like, you should understand this. People should understand this. But they don't. And I keep telling myself, no, it's not that. It's a talking point. It's a narrative. It's a new platform. It's something else that's going to make price go up. And then it happens and it doesn't. And I go, okay, I could map out where the extraction started taking place. And this is why it's happening. And nothing new is coming in. So this is why the price is going down. So this is how we pump, how you make the price of one particular token, like HEX on Pulse Chain, go up. It's mathematics, people. It's not it is understanding LP, but that's mathematics too. I don't know how to say it. So for me to try and make $10,000 off of HEX, other than buying $10,000 worth of HEX, I'll be interested to see if I do some sort of challenge and just see how much I can purchase and just see what it does over time. And then I can prove myself wrong. Because maybe I can put in small amounts, and then maybe I'm lucky enough to put out large amounts. That's the dream, right? That's the dream. Without absolutely murdering like butchering the golden goose. I don't know if you, the my technical analysis on the price of HEX is that if we works better on LEX, but if you look at the price of EX, arguably that is that is how healthy it is, right? And the closer it is to zero, it means it's not healthy at all. Now, what else? What else? So pressure. What else? I think many people in the crypto world understand this. They know this. They've seen it before. They haven't seen anything like Hex before. And when Pulse Chain and Pulse X launched, they've seen this before. Well, I've never seen a sacrifice. I don't think I ever saw a sacrifice before, but they've seen launches of L1s and what happens after they've been around for a little bit. And if you have a look at the price of Ethereum 10 years later, oh my God. Bitcoin 10 years later, oh my God. Hex 10 years later, we'll wait and see. So think about this. Just remember, if you go off chasing other things and it works out for you, congratulations. But remember, if the price goes up, right, which it probably will, you will be upset because you were able to buy as much back as you initially sold, which would suck. So you're like, I'm gonna get 100 of these, sell these 100 things, and buy back, and like, oh, I'm gonna get 95. God damn! And you sit on them and hope it goes up more, but you're never gonna have those 95, those 100 again, unless you buy more, which might be hard to do unless you got some other form of income and then you're purchasing more. So that's my conundrum is, do I go chasing with other capital, things that make me return yield, whether that be whatever, businesses, whatever, work, whatever, and then use the little amounts to DCA in to the things that I like, which might be Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Hex, on both chains. It seems to be the logical approach, but I'm kind of logical. I'll do things backwards, and I'm always wrong, and no one should listen to me. And then, if I were to do that, I personally think my little contribution would be a net positive on the system until until I go to sell. That's the kicker. Because then, say I DCA in, DCA in 10 things. Somehow, the shit goes up. And the 10 things are worth a whole lot more. I guess you got to hope that when you sell, you're not destroying the price, hurting it more than you entered it in, if that makes sense, mathematically speaking. There's probably a calculation for that. I don't know if it's a ratio, would be a number. But yeah, so if you have 10 things, if you DCA in slowly and you get 10 things, and then, it's worth a whole lot more, and you sell those 10 things, it's like, you've become the sell pressure you dislike, you loathe, because it makes the price go down and everything. But then if the prices increase so hard, maybe because you and others at the same time have all purchased up, when you sell that 10, maybe there's a way to not hurt the system as much, or at least be neutral. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know at what price that would happen. I don't know if that's even something people should care about, because it's very, I guess it's easy if you go into a casino. I want to chuck everything on black. Right? When you haven't got much, it's a hard sort of game to play. But then when you've got like money just coming from everywhere, you don't really care. You're just chucking it around. You don't even lose. You're like, I'm going to double up till it wins. You might take like 42 times for it to win, but then when you finally win, got it back. It's fine. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'll try and figure out Maybe I'll do something simple. Like I said, buy some little amounts, DCA in. But then there's the question: it's like, which one am I? I don't know. Decisions, people. See, this is instead of me selling right now, I am making the stream, all right? Because yeah, do I purchase Ethereum over things, go and play on the Uni chain, chase some of the APR, and use the APR rewards to then DCA into something like Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and HEX over time slowly. And then once I do that, pump up the price a little bit, hopefully, and then when the price like what double, triples, quadruples, 10,000 X's, sell, and be like, oh shit, now I'm the sell pressure. But hopefully by that point in time, everyone's made mad gains along the way and everyone's happy. Okay, cool. Because what you wouldn't want to do is like make 10,000 X, sell, and then just drop the price back down to the beginning point. That's not ideal. Pretty sure there's a calculation with HEX though. The amount, all the possible amount of HEX being minted on one day, and all the possible amount of HEX in the LPs and on the bridge, there's probably in LPs, and in the wallets, liquid. So my calculation using maths, which I'm not good at, mind you, because I'm only an accountant, so I'm not that good at maths. I'm a mathematician. If you have added up all those amounts, right, and then you calculate how much it's worth and how much slippage or whatever, maybe it's slippage, yeah, there's slippage, and then if there was a mass purchase more than that on that day, it would be impossible to sell more than that because it'd be impossible. But the LP slippage would come into play because the timing would be different because not everyone end stakes at the same time. And not everyone's going to sell their liquid at the same time. And there you have the unknowns. So it's about the flow of the HEX, in my opinion. Because someone might front run you, you might get front run. It's never any game, right? The interesting game. But yeah. But for a little mini fish like me, it's not worth even thinking about. Once we get to the Ethereum level, people, it's going to be a whole new game. It's going to be very interesting. I don't think it's going to matter as much because there'll be people who I would assume are just diamond handed, held, and now they've got millions and millions, potentially billions of these tokens. It's worth a whole lot. HEX too. And then you'll see normal people come along and just buy it. They'll go to a centralized exchange and be like, let's go get some Pulse Chain, get some HEX, whatever. I'm not even so sure people are going to stake the HEX. They might just look at it like, oh, it's just a tradable token. And then because it's so scarce and there'll be scarce HEX everywhere, which would mean what? High prices everywhere. When people are trading it like that on centralized exchanges, maybe on decentralized exchanges, I hope primarily, yeah, you would see insane prices. Yeah. And then, like I said, I don't think at that point in time it would be like, oh, what if everyone sells? The argument: everyone sells all the houses at the same time, or everyone sells all the HEX at the same time. It sort of gets beyond that. It's like, how did Bitcoin do what it has done? Like, wasn't there a roadmap for it to achieve what it's currently achieved? I don't think that has. It is. I don't think there is. And people have said HEX is better than Bitcoin. Cool. I'd like to see HEX more expensive than Bitcoin. That would be cool. That would be amazing. I'm not sure that'd be mathematically possible. Well, you just need someone who likes Bitcoin. You just need someone who likes Bitcoin a whole lot for the HEX to be. I don't know. Could it? Well, that'd be some interesting numbers to crunch. That. Oh my god! Can you imagine? Some like Bitcoin god comes in and goes, I'm blessing Pulse Chain. Just, like you level up in games, like an explosion. Next thing is like someone new. What is that? It's not even like level up. Anyway, my ramblings. My ramblings, people. My ramblings. I hope it makes sense. Hopefully you're listening. Hopefully you're just like when I miss words. Hopefully it makes sense because bad. But but some of it might mathematically make sense. But yes, it would be cool. Like I said, not very logical, but it would be cool for someone who really liked Bitcoin and Ethereum to come in and buy something in the post chain. You can see the funniest thing would be the meme token. Oh my god, that thing would pump so hard. Wouldn't even need as much. But again, this is like, please, someone else's bags. Like, spend your money and your time on this. It's like, I don't think that's going to happen. So instead, I'll think rationally what I can do with my understanding of maths and be like, am I buying? What's the process I'm buying in? Am I going straight to HEX, straight to Pulse, straight to HEX? Or am I buy some other stuff and then use that? Now explain it. Like I said before, when you're trying to calculate when the HEX is coming out, everyone's different. So when you're just taking your paycheck and putting it straight to HEX, you're doing that, or you can put it into some other investment, that investment, another investment, another investment, another investment, and somewhere along the line, somewhere in the cog of investments, you have something like Pulse Chain, HEX, like any cryptocurrency working for you. That'd be kind of cool, And then just like then you end up with this monstrosity. With like, how many pages is there of this thing? Is it? Can I click on the last page? There is 90 and more. Oh no, the last one. Is there more? I'm not so sure this picks up the Pulse Chain tokens though. Even Merlin Chain. We can all dream. We can all dream to be like Aave Staked GH. Welcome to the Aave Staked GH channel. We've got a market cap of 152 million. Get out. No way. His volume of 10,000. Wait, it's gonna. Okay. Okay, but does it move? Is it on log? What's it stable? Oh, it's a stable. You can't make money that's stable. Or can you? Let's see something that's not a stable. Utonic. I think the very last token on CoinMarketCap. It is priced at $2.99, people. It is down 45%, has a market cap of 9.13 million, and there's a volume of $30 traded on. I have no idea what that is. So you are telling me that Utonic, which is number 9,999.81, that this is priced better than Pulse Chain, Pulse X, INC, and HEX, although INC is pretty close. That is the world we currently live in, people. Don't get me wrong. Maybe Utonic has some amazing feature that I'm not aware of, right? And it should be worth a whole lot more than HEX, Pulse Chain, Pulse X, INC, and even HEX and Ethereum, But I just honestly don't see it. But yeah, somehow it's worth more. That is the world we live in. That is life for you, and it's still like $30 for the volume. Oh, this is crypto, people. I like the B squared network. I think I want to make a new channel and just like find the most garbage tokens in all of crypto. I'll start from the bottom of CoinMarketCap. I'll do it next stream. All right, we've done Newtonic, number 9,007. Tomorrow, we'll look at Wrapped Ton. No, wait. We'll look at Yield Nest Restakes BTC kernel. Which is worth more than it appeared to be some sort of wraps. Oh my god, everything's wrapped these days. We'll look at a stride staked SOM. Right. Oh my god, there's wrap staked HEX. That is, it's quite funny. I'm gonna go through every single one of these, and we'll buy $10. Nah, I'm not doing that. I will, like I said, you do you, I'll do me, and we'll figure out how to make HEX great again. All right, so I'm signing out. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for avoiding. Thank you for stopping me from selling my crypto because I was like extremely close. I was so close to selling this shit. Gwei is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is low. Yeah, one. You know what else is low? Pulse Chain under SAC, Pulse X under SAC, INC under $10, and Hex under whatever it was. That celebratory stream did last year. And that was when that was around the time I finished doing the DCA challenge, which maybe I just do straight DCA attacks. Because I don't think it's going to be easy to show you guys, like, oh, I bought this, and I bought this, and I bought this, and I did this. And then it might be a bit tedious to show that to everyone. Yeah. How can one make a living completely online? Is it possible? Is it possible? Starting with not much, mind you. I mean, the right trades, anything's possible. Like you get it right, set for life. If you sold at the top, set for life. If you buy the right thing in that moon, set for life. Yeah. So it is possible. And the things I dabble in, it's not enough. You know, it's like a little bit. It's like you get this little amount, and then you got like a few dollars to play with. It's like it's not enough to like change, like timeline and how you're gonna be living in the next 5 years. HEX, Pulse Chain, Pulse X, maybe a different story. Arguably, you're still early, but yeah. All right, I think I'll close it there. Happy day 2K. I think that's what I want to close out on. What else? That is about it, people. That is about it. Hopefully, everyone. I don't know. Hopefully, while you're watching, you didn't get disgusted and hit the sell button too hard, because I'm trying to figure out what that was. Yeah, I was extremely close. So I jumped on, made a stream, soothed my soul now for a little bit. Now we'll see if anyone else is streaming or what is going on X. I'm not sure there's too much. Correct. Oh, shit. We're going to answer in the next. People not selling is what makes price go up. And I think that is about it. All right, I'm closing.